I liked Thor so much more than I thought I would. A little background in case you're not familiar with my opinions are coming from. There are some Marvel films that I like, but I've never been a Marvel fan. I'm a DC girl, but I decided I would now start watching the MCU films, starting with Iron Man. I've now seen Iron Man 2, and then next in line is Thor. And while Iron Man 1 and 2 were alright, Thor I actually genuinely liked and found the characters really interesting. Loki was a particularly surprising character with what he brought to the narrative that I hadn't expected. Really genuinely good film. Now, I'm going to say I'm not going to spoil anything in this. I feel like I was the last person on earth to see this film, but I won't spoil anything just in case. This was originally released in 2011, directed by one of my favourite directors, Kenneth Branagh. Does that play a part in why I liked it? Well, I don't know. Maybe it does, but consciously it didn't. So the description from IMDb sums it up quite nicely, especially if you don't have any idea what it's about. And this says, the powerful but arrogant god Thor is cast out of Asgard to live among humans in Midgard, Earth, where he soon becomes one of their finest defenders. So the beginning of the film is set in and around Asgard, and there's a threat that Thor wants to go and try and defend, and he shouldn't have done it. Odin, his father, banishes him to Earth. And there's this really weird thing actually that I wasn't sure I'd like, but there's a scene at the beginning involving a car and a potential car crash, and it makes absolutely no sense. And then when that is finally explained, I actually thought it was pretty cool. Normally I don't like that where something makes no sense for about half of the film, but I actually think it was quite good and very well done. I'm sure you'll know exactly what bit I mean. The beginning, when we get used to Odin and Thor and Loki, and we're introduced to these characters in this world, it's visually beautiful. It's not that difficult to understand or follow. And I say that because there are a lot of sci-fi and fantasy and superhero films that definitely are made for that fan base, where if you're coming in with no real prior knowledge of that world, it can be hard to follow to begin with. But actually I found that this one was very comfortable to watch and very easy to follow very quickly. Once Thor is on Earth, I enjoyed the character. Chris Hemsworth gave this fantastic performance. I enjoyed the way he perceived things on Earth that are very different to what they're like on Asgard. But for me, and surprisingly, and this is a massive surprise for me, I prefer the scenes on Asgard, the scenes with Loki. I really thoroughly adored them, and that's unusual because I love it when somebody not from Earth is on Earth. We see this with all kinds of characters. But the fact that I liked it the other way better, I don't know if that says more about me or the film, but I was very pleasantly surprised. I won't say more about how the narrative develops, but I will say that it did get to the point where I really had to pay attention when we get some revelations in Asgard and certain things with Loki. I really had to pay attention at that point. But I was glad to, because it was beautiful. Visually, absolutely stunning. I expect no less from Kenneth Branagh, and he absolutely delivered a visual treat. The narrative is easy enough to follow, but still very complex. There are almost definitely things that I have missed. If I watch this again, which right now I'm focusing on moving forward with the Marvel films, but if this is on TV at some point, I will probably watch it. There will be things that I have missed the first time round that I'll pick up on, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that there's a lot. I really enjoyed it. The cast, obviously, brilliant. In addition to Chris Hemsworth, Anthony Hopkins plays Odin. Hopkins is one of my favourite actors of all time. Natalie Portman's in it. Tom Hiddleston is Loki. Really, obviously, very strong cast, and that comes across in the acting. The costumes, actually I'm going to check who did the costumes because I'm not sure who it was. The costumes, the soundtrack, everything. Alexandra Byrne did the costumes, one of my favourite costumiers. She's absolutely fantastic. If you name a film, chances are she's done the costumes for it. Her and Colleen Atwood are my two favourites, and they're just both absolutely fantastic, of course. So I'm going to say, if you haven't seen Thor, I thoroughly recommend it, even if you think it's not your kind of film. However, as I said, I feel like I'm the last person on this planet to have seen Thor. So I would, of course, love to know your thoughts on this, but if you haven't seen it, go and check it out. It is on Disney Plus, and yeah, this has made me very excited for the next Marvel film. Not sure what to expect from it. I know which one it is, I'm not going to say, but I'm sure you'll know if you're a Marvel fan. But we'll see. I'm very, thanks to Thor, I'm feeling very positive about the rest of my Marvel journey.